Patrick Galey is the head of investigations at Global Witness and joins us live now from here in London. Patrick, thank you very much for talking to us. Let me start with the Strait of Hormuz. It's still disrupted and the oil markets are just so volatile. How serious is this threat that we're looking at now to global energy supplies? How bad is it?
Well, briefly, it's the most profound oil supply crisis ever, according to the IEA, the International Energy Agency. Your piece there just mentioned that it has released 400 million barrels. That's the most it's ever released. And it's only actually ever released strategic reserves 6 times in its history. And that goes back several decades. It's worse than Russia-Ukraine. Oil crisis and fossil fuel crisis. It's worse than COVID. It's worse even than the oil crises of the 70s and the 80s. You may have seen archive footage of Americans sort of queuing down the street to fill up their cars back in the day. Now, releasing strategic reserves is a one and done, really. This is all the IEA can do. And 400 million barrels sounds like a lot, but to put that in context, it's only 3 weeks worth of oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz, and it's been blocked for 2 already, nearly. So although it's the worst ever oil supply crisis, it doesn't necessarily translate that it will be the worst ever economic crisis, because economies around the world are largely significantly less reliant on oil than they were in 1973. And so they can weather the shock a little bit. But there is real pain coming for more or less everyone. Even if this all goes away tomorrow, and I hope it does, I hope the war ends, and I hope that life can resume, if that happens, it will still take Gulf exporters weeks to bring back production online. You cannot just turn the oil and gas taps back on once they've been turned off. There are a lot of technical processes you need. So even an immediate solution would take weeks for supplies to return to the pre-war level. We've seen a US investment bank this week say that a prolonged blockade could see oil reach $150 a barrel. And even at $100 a barrel, we're going to see fossil fuel linked inflation, which will damage more or less all economies, because not only will it become more expensive to purchase oil and gas, it also becomes therefore more expensive to make and distribute and essentially organize our economy.
Patrick, I do want to ask you, because you work for Global Witness, an investigative campaigning organisation. So I do want to ask you not only about oil aside, this is about people, this is about seafarers stuck at sea, and this is also about the potential environmental impact that these tankers full of oil, the impact that when they are attacked, it could have long-term on the environment. How concerning are those 2 aspects of what's going on right now?
War is always an environmental catastrophe. It's a humanitarian catastrophe, of course, as you said, and my heart goes out to people living under fire in the region and dying needlessly in this war. The environmental damage, I think, has 2 facets as far as I'm concerned. One is the physical, ecological damage that you've said. We're seeing tankers being hit. We're seeing oil tanks being destroyed. Everyone will have seen the harrowing footage out of Tehran after Israel-US coalition hit the oil storage facilities, and there was towering smoke and the sky turning black and oil literally raining from the sky. So there's the immediate impact of that, both on water supplies and air quality. It's too early to quantify, but what we can say is that always, whenever hydrocarbons, oil and gas, are spilled into the atmosphere or into waterways, the ecological damage is profound, and the human health damage can equally be profound. We're talking about a very polluted city, Tehran, now having to accommodate significantly more pollution in the atmosphere. That's going to give people breathing problems. It's going to give them skin problems. Now, you may think that these are relatively minor compared to the possibility of death from above from bombing, but these are going to be persistent issues. They're going to last way beyond the crisis itself. The other aspect, of course, is that war uses a lot of fossil fuels. These missiles are powered by them. Airplanes are powered by them. And so there's a lot of contribution to climate change. Militaries globally are responsible for 6% of all emissions. If they were a country, they'd be between India and China in terms of emissions. So all war generally is extremely damaging for the environment and climate, and this one, unfortunately, is no exception.
And what's the ripple effect to the impact that it's having on oil? Because it's not just oil that we're talking about here. We're talking about fertilizer, we're talking about food, we're talking about the inflationary impact of it all. So take us through this ripple effect.
Yes, exactly. As you say, fossil fuels are used as a primary energy source still by most countries. And now we have 20% of the world's flow cut off, essentially indefinitely. That is leading to increased oil prices because people are, rightly or wrongly, they're fearful of long-term impacts. It's leading to inflation in Western Europe and the UK because although where I am in the UK, we get our gas from America now, post-Russia. Oil and gas is traded internationally, though. So China is a huge purchaser of Gulf gas. It cannot get it because the strait's currently blocked. So China is purchasing a lot of the LNG shipments that were bound for the UK or the EU, and they're going to China instead. That's heaping pressure on pressure. Now, the other things that you mentioned, 30% of the world's fertilizer, of nitrogen-based fertilizer, and 40% of the world's phosphate-based fertilizer passes through the Strait of Hormuz. We need, currently, our industry is configured as such to run on fossil fuels. We need gas to make fertilizer. We need gas to make virtually everything, steel, concrete. So the impact on fossil fuel prices always, yes, impacts energy prices, of course, but it impacts the price of everything. And if I can give you just one example about how your viewers may not be feeling the pinch yet, they may not be queuing at the pumps, or they may not sort of get increased bills. Those will come. But I want them to cast their minds back to 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Yes, energy bills went haywire, but so did everything, right? And that precipitated a global cost of living crisis. That is because a lot of the goods and services that our global economy relies upon rely on fossil fuels for their delivery.
Really, really appreciate you unpacking that for us all. There's quite a lot going on, isn't there, Patrick? Thank you very much. Really appreciate your thoughts and analysis. Patrick Galey there, speaking to us from here in the capital.